Hey gang, Ronan here. As you can see, in this game we've got Paladin Shepherd, affectionately known as Pal amongst us here in ICOP, playing the Tier 7 Scharnhorst. Matchmaking, well, it's all Tier 7. There are some threats, of course, some torpedo threats in the form of Fiji, and a lot of big shells. Scharnhorst, if you're unfamiliar, is, of course, a Tier 7 German premium battleship. It is, at least to my way of thinking, an excellent cruiser killer. The guns are not all that big, but against cruisers they are more than enough. I'll have difficulty penetrating the heavier armor of some battleships depending upon the angle, but they do make a great HE spammer in the case of an angled battleship. Against cruisers, most cruisers, even when angled, these shells are going to do great damage if they hit. The dispersion is German, but I have had significant success with the ship, and it's just so much fun to play. You can see that it's got torpedo racks on either side. That creates an additional threat for anybody who is thinking about getting close with 6 kilometers of range. If somebody does get close, they're going to be dealing with secondaries and the torpedoes. The ship is relatively fast, as you can see there. It's at 31.4 knots right now. And the reload on these guns is fantastic. Most battleships at the tier are going to be around 30 seconds, more or less. The new heavier line of American battleships, of course, is going to be 40 seconds. But with Scharnhorst, it's only 20 seconds. So you can get a lot more shells downrange. And you can see the enemy New Orleans there is taking a lot of fire. Atlanta is just raining shells on him. Now this file was sent to me a little while ago, and this last week has been a particularly rough one for me, and I just haven't had an opportunity to look at it yet. So we'll enjoy it together. Down goes the Atlanta. Looks like some of those heavy New Orleans AP shells might have got him. Guns are just about reloaded. Got to be careful of that syn-op. That's kind of optimum range for the syn-op, right around 12 clicks. New Orleans is foolishly showing a lot of broadside here. And he pays for it, but no citadel, so he's still afloat. As you can see, the guns are just about back up. Pal makes a blind fire over the island. Got my fingers crossed, pal. Nice shot. Only took an overpen, thank goodness. But that outside threat is now gone. Be a DD here in the cap. I guess it's not a DD, it's a battleship in the cap. I guess the DD is either on the way here or on the way over the truck. Or maybe just sitting north of Bravo, trying to take out that Colorado that's sailing broadside. This syn-op is in big trouble, he just doesn't realize it yet. You can see that he's using the torpedo indicator here to get some idea of which direction the syn-op is going to be heading. And he might swing the ship hard to port now and get torpedoes out the other side. He's got just enough range to do it. I don't think the syn-op can accelerate quickly enough to avoid the second. But it looks like maybe Pal has just opted instead to be able to get a broadside shot on the syn-op. Lands a torpedo, you can see the secondaries are firing off. That's exactly what Pal's going to do. He's going to try and get a nice broadside into the syn-op. It stays angled to the syn-op, which is a very Great, great job. Significant damage there with the Citadel and the follow-up. That's a lot of damage. And Eisenhower is well aware of the threat the Scharnhorst torpedoes represent. Sets a fire with his secondaries and finishes off the setup. And Eisenhower is maneuvering like a madman, trying to avoid the torpedoes that he must know are on the way. The Gneisenau is a very similar ship. Doesn't handle quite as well, and much bigger guns, but also a torpedo threat. And you can see Pal is angled up to be able to run, and he's going to have to decide whether he wants to come to starboard and run a little bit more north, or run into the island. And he does, in my opinion, he wisely decide to run north. Now that puts him in danger of the Florida, but sometimes you just have to get. Here come the torpedoes from the Gneisenau, and he outran those. Nice job, Pal. Pal trying to take advantage of the really long reload on the Florida to get around this island and probably bring his nose hard to port in order to try and flatten out his angle. He's taking a little bit of damage, but he gives it a little bit of turn. And he gets off the torpedoes. Eisenhower's going to turn in almost certainly. He's going to avoid the torpedo threat. You can see that our hero in 6.5 minutes has roughly 90,000 damage. He's going to get a broadside shot on Eisenhower here. I'm going to aim just a little bit higher. It's a little better. Yeah, nice. And I think the Gneisenau is in big trouble. New York's probably going to finish him here. Or Duke of York, excuse me. Oh yeah, the Duke of York would be crazy to not have swung the guns around to finish off Gneisenau at that range. But maybe he is. Maybe he is crazy. No, there come the shells. And that's it. So, Pal does all the heavy lifting there against Gneisenau. Duke of York is able to finish him off. Pal is plainly trying to stay far enough away to avoid getting blaffed. He's only got 8,200 hit points left, and he's got almost a minute until his heals back up. Pal very politely offers his thanks to the Duke of York. Now this has turned into something of a rout. The good guys still have 6 ships, 6 battleships against 2 battleships and a destroyer. Now that's, that's not necessarily a game that's in the bag, particularly with an enemy destroyer still in the game against a lot of battleships. This battleship in particular is equipped reasonably well to handle a destroyer. You can load up HE, which he's already done. And if you can get a good shot on a destroyer, because of the speed of this ship, sometimes you can just keep him detected by staying close enough. Ship is not, it's not a destroyer, but it's reasonably maneuverable. Down goes the enemy DD. So this... Now I'm going to just go ahead and call this game in favor of our hero and his teammates here. With only the banged up Nagato and almost full health Colorado left, I think this is all over but the shouting. So I'll take a minute, we'll just recap. 2 kills for Pal, 44 shells on target, 7 decaps, 96 secondary hits, and pretty brutal exchange there up close. 1 flood from a torpedo hit, 3 total torpedo hits, down goes the enemy Nagato, a Citadel shot, and started 2 fires. Over 1 million potential damage in what was just a few minutes of encounter here. And Pal is opting to just use HE to try and help burn down the Colorado. Colorado's just come almost to a stop, so Shells run a little bit ahead of it. And Pal is he's just using the island here to stay out of sight. He doesn't need to be seen and take fire. So there's no need to do that. If he gets much closer, the island is going to, yeah, you can see the island is now in the way of his shots, but he can roll a little bit to port, I think, and port to starboard, I guess, and get around the edge of the island. There's a little gap there in the island. He might be able to get some shells through that. But either way, this is going to be over here fairly quickly. The Colorado is not going to be able to withstand what amounts to a rain of large caliber shells. So I will say right now, great game, Pal. I love watching a battleship get close like that, especially a German battleship. Very fun to watch. Really well played. To those of you joining me, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you spending a little time here. Hope you enjoyed this. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you next time.